land disputes, ethnic clashes, and the crisis in Manipur. Tamenglong Incident is one such example of larger conflict between Kuki and Meiteis. Why separate administration is the only viable solution for lasting peace between two different ethnic groups. Kukis, the tribals and Meitei majority group. Manipur, a multi-ethnic state nestled in India's northeastern frontier, has become the stage for one of the gravest humanitarian and political crises in recent memory. Home to the Meitei, Kuki-Zo, Naga, and other indigenous communities, the state is torn by ethnic strife, land disputes, and a deeply fractured social fabric. Beneath the surface of political headlines lies a festering wound: the question of land, ancestral rights, governance, and the systematic denial of legitimate autonomy to marginalized communities. As the state plunges deeper into conflict, one truth emerges with undeniable clarity. Separate administration for the Kuki-Zo people is the only viable and enduring solution to secure peace, justice, and stability in Manipur. Tamenglong Clash. A snapshot of a larger crisis. In October 2024, a violent clash between the Hanfan and Hungpung villages in Tamenglong district left 25 injured and led to the imposition of prohibitory orders under Section 144 CRPC. What began as a local dispute over land ownership soon escalated into arson, gunfire, and chaos. Paramilitary forces were rushed in to restore order, yet this was no isolated event. It was merely another eruption in Manipur's chronic history of violent land disputes. Such clashes reveal a deeper structural ailment: the absence of clear land demarcation, overlapping customary claims, and the failure of the state to acknowledge or respect indigenous governance systems that have long defined life in these hills. The Meitei-Kuki conflict, an ethnic catastrophe. The Tamenglong episode, serious as it was, pales against the devastation wrought by the Kuki-Meitei ethnic conflict, which erupted in May 2023 and continues to ravage Manipur. Triggered by the Manipur High Court's controversial recommendation to consider granting scheduled tribe status to the majority Meitei community, the conflict unleashed waves of violence, killing over 250 people, displacing nearly 70,000, and reducing entire villages and neighborhoods to ruins. Yet the roots of this conflict run far deeper than a legal petition or reservation politics. They are anchored in the struggle over land, forest rights, ancestral domains, and the assertion of dominance over vulnerable indigenous communities, particularly the Kukis. Land, forests, and the Kuki chieftainship system. For the Kuki people, land is not merely an economic resource. It is the foundation of identity, culture, and governance. For centuries, Kuki society has been organized under the institution of chieftainship, where hereditary chiefs hold authority over village lands, forest resources, and settlement patterns. The Kuki chieftain is not a ceremonial figure, but the ultimate authority in matters of land governance. This indigenous system predates the Indian state and was historically respected by colonial powers and neighboring ethnic groups. However, in post-independence Manipur, this authority has come under systematic attack. Reserve forests and the machinery of dispossession. Over the past decades, the Manipur government has declared vast swathes of Kuki-inhabited territory as reserved forests, protected forests, wildlife sanctuaries, or national parks, often without the free, prior, and informed consent of Kuki chieftains or village councils. These declarations have rendered Kuki settlements illegal, criminalized traditional livelihoods, and paved the way for forced evictions, demolitions, and arbitrary arrests. For the Kukis, this is not about environmental conservation. It is about ethnic marginalization and state-orchestrated dispossession. Denying the authority of the Kuki chieftainship amounts to an assault on the community's sovereignty, threatening not just their livelihood, but their very existence on ancestral land. Recent eviction drives in Churachandpur, Kangpokpi, Tengnupal, and Farzal, all Kuki majority districts, have intensified under the guise of forest protection. Meanwhile, environmental degradation in the Meitei-dominated Imphal Valley has drawn little state intervention, exposing deep-seated biases in state policy, weaponizing the anti-Kuki narrative. What renders the Kuki crisis even more alarming is the toxic, state-backed narrative that brands Kukis as illegal immigrants, narco-terrorists, or encroachers. This rhetoric, pushed by influential valley-based groups such as Arambai Tenggol and Meitei Lipan, has fueled the false claim that Kuki settlements, particularly near the Myanmar border, are part of a demographic conspiracy to alter Manipur's ethnic balance. Such narratives have justified violence, land seizures, arson, and extrajudicial actions, receiving tacit support in political corridors, and transforming the state government into what many Kukas now describe as an anti-Kuki agenda machine. Meitei Kuki clashes in the forests and hills. The fierce battles between Meitei armed groups and Kuki defense forces across the forests and hills of Manipur testify to the collapse of governance. Areas like Moreh, Kangpokpi, and Churachandpur have become battlegrounds, marked by armed attacks, retaliatory strikes, and massacres. The violence has moved beyond spontaneous flare-ups to become structured, organized, and rooted in the struggle for territorial control. The state's repeated refusal to acknowledge Kuki customary rights, respect chieftainship authority, or mediate impartially has created a governance vacuum now filled by militias and vigilante groups. Without a meaningful structural shift, this cycle of violence will persist. Why separate administration is the only solution. In this grim context, the demand for separate administration, a Kuki-Zo territorial council or autonomous region within the Indian constitutional framework, has emerged not as a mere political slogan, but as an existential necessity. Here's why. 1. Protection of ancestral lands. A separate administration would enable the Kuki people to exercise control over their ancestral lands without the constant threat of eviction, criminalization, or state-backed dispossession. It would ensure that any declaration of reserved forests, protected areas, or economic projects happens only with the consent of Kuki authorities, safeguarding customary land rights. 2. Preservation of chieftainship and indigenous governance. Separate administration would give constitutional recognition to the Kuki chieftainship system, empowering traditional institutions to play central roles in governance, dispute resolution, and development. 3. Ending the cycle of ethnic violence. By formally separating administrative powers, ethnic tensions can be depoliticized, and parallel governance systems can be established to address each community's needs. This would reduce inter-ethnic competition over resources and political power, laying the groundwork for durable peace. 4. Empowering a marginalized people. Separate administration would grant the Kuki-Zo people a political voice, institutional autonomy, and the ability to shape their own future, a future they have long been denied under a Meitei-dominated state structure. It is vital to remember the Kukis too want nothing more than to live like other Indian citizens, free from marginalization, torture, violence, and economic hardship. They desire the chance to thrive in peace, dignity, and security, like any other community under the Indian flag. Models of autonomy, precedents, and pathways. The Indian Constitution already provides robust mechanisms for tribal autonomy under the 6th schedule, which governs tribal areas in Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, and Mizoram. Autonomous district and regional councils in these states exercise significant powers over land, forests, customary law, and cultural preservation. The Bodoland Territorial Region in Assam, created after years of violent conflict, stands as a powerful precedent. Far from fragmenting Assam, Bodoland's autonomy has fostered relative peace, focused development, and protected Bodo identity. For Manipur, a Kuki-Zo Autonomous Territorial Council offers a similar blueprint for peace, stability, and reconciliation. Conclusion: the urgency of autonomy. Manipur stands at a historic crossroads. Cycles of land disputes, ethnic violence, and governance failures have produced a crisis that policing, curfews, and political rhetoric can no longer contain. The denial of Kuki rights, invalid forest declarations, the systematic erosion of the chieftainship system, and the rise of anti-Kuki narratives have pushed the situation to the brink. There remains only one path to achieve lasting peace, stability, and justice in Manipur: separate administration for the Kuki-Zo people. This is not a call for secession or state breakup. It is a constitutional and negotiated solution that recognizes the rights, dignity, and aspirations of a people who have long been marginalized. Without it, the violence will persist, the wounds will deepen, and the vision of a peaceful, pluralistic Manipur will remain a tragic illusion. Thank you for watching. Please do share this video and subscribe to our channel, Zalengam Media, Voices from Kukuland. From